Have you ever wondered if your big, compassionate heart could truly change someone who doesn't seem to want to change at all? Can your deep empathy, patient love, and quiet sacrifices be enough to break through the emotional walls of a narcissist? That question doesn't just stir your thoughts. It touches the deepest corners of your soul, where hope and hurt often intertwine. If you've ever felt drained, confused, or even doubted your own worth because you tried to save someone who didn't want to be saved, then this video is made for you. Picture this moment. You've poured your heart into helping someone become their best self, only to find yourself stuck in a painful cycle. You've given everything, your time, your energy, your emotions, only to realize they have no intention of changing. In today's American society, we're often taught that love is the answer to everything, that if you try hard enough, you can fix any relationship. From Hollywood movies to inspirational posts on social media, the idea that love conquers all has been deeply ingrained in us. But what happens when love isn't enough? What happens when the person you love not only refuses to change, but pulls you down with them? This topic matters now more than ever, because it's not just about two personality types, the Super Empath and the Narcissist. It's about how we define our self-worth within relationships. Psychology shows that roughly 6% of the population exhibits signs of narcissistic personality disorder, but the impact of narcissistic behavior reaches far beyond that, often leaving emotional scars we don't notice right away. Terms like empath and narcissist are everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, online forums, but they're often misunderstood or reduced to simple labels. Today, we're going deeper, beyond those labels, into the heart of psychology to understand why these two personality types are drawn to each other and why the question, "Can I change them?" is so painfully complex. This video will take you on an emotional and eye-opening journey. We'll explore the mind of the Super Empath, those with open hearts who feel the pain of others even before their own. We'll also take an honest look at the psyche of the narcissist, those who build thick walls to hide their deep insecurities, constantly seeking attention but rarely offering genuine connection. Most importantly, we'll face a hard truth. Can a super empath actually change a narcissist? And if not, what's the cost of trying? This isn't just a theoretical question, it challenges how you see love, self-worth, and your own inner strength. I want you to stay with me, because this journey isn't just about understanding someone else, it's about understanding yourself. We'll uncover why super empaths are drawn into relationships with narcissists, why the hope of changing someone can turn into a dangerous trap, and how you can reclaim your power and take back your life. This is your invitation to step out of the shadows of sacrifice and into the light of self-love. You deserve a relationship where you're cherished, not one where you have to fight to prove your worth. Let's begin this journey together. If you've ever felt like you were pouring your entire heart into a relationship only to find yourself growing more and more exhausted, you are not alone. Some relationships force us to question everything: our love, our sacrifices, and the meaning of giving. To answer the question of whether a super empath can change a narcissist, we need to first understand who they are and why they're drawn to each other with a force so strong it often feels impossible to resist. This isn't just a story about two personality types, it's a journey into how psychology shapes relationships, how old emotional wounds can trap us in painful cycles, and how recognizing those patterns can unlock the path to freedom. Super empaths possess a rare and profound gift, the ability to feel the emotions of others deeply, sometimes even before the other person is aware of them. It's a beautiful strength, one that allows them to become incredible listeners, healers, and supporters. But this gift comes with a cost. Many super empaths grew up in unstable environments, homes filled with emotional volatility, where they had to observe, predict, and soothe to keep peace. They became highly attuned to the needs of others, but also internalized the belief that their worth was tied to how well they could make others happy. Helping others doesn't just feel good, it feels like their responsibility, like their reason for existing. This deep empathy makes super empaths the friends, partners, and family members everyone longs to have. They show up, they listen, They care deeply, but their generosity often becomes their vulnerability. Because they're so used to prioritizing others, they rarely stop to ask, how do I feel? What do I need? They might spend their entire day helping someone else navigate a crisis and not take a single moment to tend to their own soul. Their empathy is their superpower, but without boundaries, it becomes a fast track to burnout. Super empaths often hold on to the belief that if they just give enough love, enough patience, they'll finally be met with the love and appreciation they deserve. But in a relationship with a narcissist, that very belief becomes their greatest weakness, trapping them in a dangerous loop. Narcissists, in contrast, are individuals who live to protect an idealized version of themselves, a false self-image they've carefully constructed. This isn't true confidence or self-love, it's a defense mechanism built to cover up deep insecurities, shame, or wounds they're too afraid to face. This image needs constant maintenance, attention, admiration, validation. Without it, they feel like they're unraveling. This coping strategy often stems from early life experiences, being abandoned, harshly criticized, or overly idolized, to the point that they learned to believe they must always be right, always admired. Whatever the origin, the result is the same: a person who lives in fear of being exposed and who clings to control to keep their inner world from collapsing. Unlike the super empath, narcissists rarely connect with others on a genuine emotional level. It's not necessarily because they're cruel or heartless, it's because their minds are so consumed with defending the fragile ego that there's little room left for emotional attunement. They can be charming, even magnetic, making you feel special, so long as it serves their agenda. Narcissists don't see you as a person with your own inner world. They see you as a character in their story, someone who exists to reinforce their image. And if you stop playing that role, if you ask for authenticity or challenge them, they may respond with criticism, blame, or complete withdrawal. This is the core issue. Narcissists aren't seeking connection, they're seeking control, and that makes them a dangerous opposite to the super empath. So why are super empaths and narcissists drawn to each other? This magnetic pull stems from how their psychological patterns complement each other, but in a deeply unhealthy way. Super empaths have the ability to see beyond the surface. They sense the pain beneath the narcissist's confidence. They see the wounds, the insecurity, and believe that with enough love, patience, and empathy, they can help the narcissist become their better self. That's the empath's greatest strength, but also their greatest trap. They don't fall in love with who the narcissist is. They fall in love with the potential of who the narcissist could become. Meanwhile, narcissists are drawn to super empaths because they make the perfect supply, endlessly giving, validating, and sacrificing without demanding much in return. The super empath becomes a mirror reflecting back the narcissist's ideal image, supplying the admiration and attention they crave. The relationship starts out looking promising. The narcissist makes the super empath feel needed, even cherished, and the super empath responds with unwavering devotion. But this is not a balanced exchange, it's a one-sided transaction. The super empath gives more and more, hoping their sacrifice will lead to transformation, while the narcissist takes with no intention of reciprocating. After all, why would they change when all their needs are being met? The relationship quickly becomes a cycle in which the super empath loses themselves while the narcissist's ego grows stronger. This isn't mutual love, it's a dynamic where one person is drained to sustain the illusion of another. We're often taught that love means dedication, that we should fight to keep a relationship alive. But when you're the only one fighting, when you have to abandon parts of yourself just to stay connected, that's not love. That's self-erasure. Understanding why super empaths and narcissists are drawn to one another is the first step in realizing this relationship isn't destiny, it's a behavioral pattern that can be broken. And breaking it begins with seeing hope for what it truly is. For super empaths, hope is both the light that warms their heart and the trap that keeps them stuck. In the next section, we'll dive into this deeper question. Can hope truly change a narcissist? Or does it just lead the super empath further astray? Hope is a powerful force. It lights up the darkest corners of our hearts, helping us believe that something better is coming, that love can overcome any barrier. But when hope turns into an empty promise, when it keeps us clinging to a dream that never materializes, it can lead us astray. For the super empath, hope is both the fire that fuels their heart and the flame that burns them in a painful cycle with a narcissist. They believe that their deep empathy, unwavering love, and constant sacrifice can change someone who doesn't want to change. To understand why this belief is so strong and why it's so dangerous, we need to explore how hope works, how it clouds reality, and how the lessons from the past shape the journey of a super empath. For a super empath, hope is not just an emotion, it's a core part of who they are. Because they feel others' emotions so intensely, they see things others miss. In a narcissist, they don't just see arrogance or controlling behavior, they see hidden wounds, empty spaces the narcissist tries to cover with a polished mask. This ability sparks a powerful belief that if they love hard enough, wait long enough, they'll reach that wounded part and help the narcissist become their best self. That belief becomes a mission, a silent vow not to give up, a conviction that their love is strong enough to break through the narcissist's walls. This hope gets reinforced when the narcissist shows rare glimpses of vulnerability, a sudden apology, a sad story from their past, or a vague promise to change. These fleeting moments shine like sparks in the dark, convincing the super empath they're making progress. They cling to these signs as proof that their efforts are working. But this is where we must pause and look deeper. These moments are not usually signs of real growth. More often, they're part of how the narcissist maintains control, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes strategically, a hint of vulnerability, a half-promise. It's just enough to reignite hope in the super empath and ensure they stay, keep giving. Hope, once a motivator, becomes an invisible chain binding the super empath to a relationship that leads nowhere. What makes hope dangerous is that it traps the super empath in an illusion that they can change the narcissist with enough love and patience. They are not truly in love with who the narcissist is, with the manipulation, the cruel words, the lack of empathy. They're in love with an idea, a potential version they wish the narcissist would become. They think, if I just try harder, if I understand them more, they'll finally open up and become who I know they could be. But here's the hard truth. Change doesn't happen just because someone else wants it. Real change requires deep commitment, a willingness to face the darkest parts of oneself. And narcissists rarely want to do that. They've built an entire inner world to avoid their insecurities and shame. Asking them to let go of that defense is asking them to tear down the foundation of their identity. This illusion causes super empaths to overlook red flags. They may see the broken promises, the lack of sincerity, the way the narcissist makes them feel small, but they explain it away as signs of hurt, not as choices. They tell themselves, they're acting this way because they're in pain. If I just love them enough, they'll stop. But narcissistic behavior isn't simply a reaction to pain, it's a mechanism of control, a way to avoid ever facing the truth. Clinging to the idea of potential causes super empaths to pour more into a dream that isn't real, while the painful, imbalanced reality remains clouded by hope. The relationship between a super empath and a narcissist often falls into a never-ending cycle. It starts with moments that make the super empath feel cherished, flattery, attention, the sense of being special, but that phase doesn't last. Once the narcissist feels secure, or the super empath starts asking for real intimacy, everything shifts. The narcissist may become critical, blame-shifting, or manipulate the empath into doubting themselves. And when the empath tries to walk away, the narcissist often returns with apologies, promises, or manufactured vulnerability to pull them back in. This cycle, idealize, devalue, discard, hoover, is not accidental. It's a pattern designed to keep the super empath stuck, giving endlessly while receiving very little. Super empaths stay in this loop because they don't see it as a tactic. They interpret the criticism as a cue to try harder, the apology as a sign of change. They ask themselves, what did I do wrong? If I'm just a little more patient, things will be different. But the truth is, No amount of patience will break a cycle that exists solely to serve the narcissist's needs. This cycle doesn't nourish the relationship. It drains the super empath, weakens their self-worth, and convinces them they are to blame. It doesn't just rob them of energy, it robs them of faith in themselves. Why do super empaths fall so easily into the trap of hope? The answer lies in their past. Many super empaths grew up in environments where love wasn't given freely. It had to be earned. They may have had to please others, keep the peace, or sacrifice their needs just to feel accepted. These early experiences instilled a deep belief. My worth depends on how well I can make others feel okay. They became the caregivers, the healers, but at the cost of ignoring their own needs. When they meet a narcissist, the super empath unconsciously steps back into that familiar role. They feel compelled to fix the other person, to prove that their love is strong enough to inspire change. The narcissist, with their cycle of idealization and devaluation, reinforces this belief, making the empath feel like if they just try harder, if they give more, they'll finally be truly loved. But this is a dangerous illusion. No amount of sacrifice can change someone who doesn't want to change. The belief that their love can save someone isn't just misguided, it slowly destroys the empath's sense of self. Understanding why super empaths cling to hope is the first step in breaking this cycle. They must realize that their worth isn't found in healing others, it's found in simply being who they are. They don't need to prove they're lovable by constantly sacrificing themselves. But to reach that realization, they must face a far tougher question. Does the narcissist even want to change? That's what we'll explore next, as we uncover the true nature of transformation and why it's so rare in this kind of relationship. Hope can be a guiding light through our darkest days, but sometimes it blinds us to what's truly happening. The super empath, with an open heart and unwavering belief that love can heal all wounds, often takes on an emotional mission to change the narcissist, to help them become the person the empath believes they could be. They pour their soul, patience, and empathy into this effort, hoping that one day the wall the narcissist has built will finally fall. But what happens when that person never wanted the wall to come down in the first place? When all the love and sacrifice leads only to a door that remains tightly shut? To break free from the painful cycle that super empaths so often find themselves trapped in, we must face a hard truth. Does the narcissist even want to change? And if the answer is no, why does the super empath keep trying? This journey takes us into the heart of what real transformation requires, into the complex psyche of the narcissist, and into the painful but necessary lesson that, no matter how powerful love may be, it cannot force someone to walk through a door they refuse to open. Change is a challenging journey for anyone. It's not just about modifying a behavior or making a new choice. It requires deep self-awareness, the courage to face one's most painful truths, and the willingness to commit to becoming something different. Think of it like standing in front of a mirror, confronting the flaws, mistakes, and buried pain we often try to hide. For most people, this is already difficult. For a narcissist, it's nearly impossible. Why? Because their entire inner world is designed to avoid that mirror. They've built a shell, an idealized version of themselves to protect against insecurity, shame, or anything that might threaten their sense of identity. To change, for a narcissist, isn't just a step forward, it's a direct threat to the foundation of who they believe they are. That shell isn't just a defense mechanism, it's the very core of how the narcissist operates. Every behavior, from seeking admiration, manipulating others, to avoiding accountability, is designed to protect that carefully crafted self-image. They need praise, validation, and control to maintain the illusion that they are superior, that they're never wrong. Change would mean dismantling that illusion, admitting they're flawed, that they have wounds to heal, that they need help. This is a terrifying prospect for a narcissist because it forces them to confront the very things they've spent their entire lives avoiding. The truth is simple. Narcissists don't want to change, because change offers them no benefit, only risk. In a relationship with a super empath, the narcissist finds the perfect environment to preserve their false self. The super empath, with their unconditional compassion and willingness to sacrifice, becomes the ideal supply, providing attention, validation, and devotion the narcissist craves. Why would they change when they're already getting everything they want without consequence? The moments the super empath sees as progress, an apology, a story of past trauma, or a promise to do better, are rarely signs of real growth. They are strategies, conscious or not, to keep the empath hooked, to ensure the supply remains uninterrupted. The super empath, always looking for the good in others, mistakes these actions for sincerity, but the hard truth is, the narcissist rarely intends to truly change. Let's examine this reality through a psychological lens. Studies show that only a tiny fraction of people with narcissistic tendencies seek professional help, and even then, genuine transformation is extremely rare. This isn't because narcissists can't change, everyone has the potential to grow, but because they lack the internal motivation to do so. Change requires vulnerability, acknowledgement of one's flaws, and a commitment to emotional honesty. But narcissists have built their entire defense system to avoid all of that. They don't see value in being vulnerable. To them, it signals weakness, a threat to the very image they rely on for survival. So instead of confronting the truth, they opt for manipulation, denial, and blame-shifting to keep control. This puts the super empath in an impossible position. They believe that if they just love hard enough, wait long enough, they can inspire the narcissist to change. They see themselves as a guiding light, bringing warmth into the narcissist's darkness. But here's the brutal truth: no one can inspire change in someone who does not want to move. The super empath can offer unconditional love, deep empathy, and unwavering support, but they cannot force the narcissist to choose growth. Change is a personal journey, and only the narcissist can choose to walk it. No amount of pleading, sacrifice, or love can substitute for their own internal decision. So, what does cause a narcissist to change, if at all? In rare cases, change happens only when they are forced to face significant consequences, losing a meaningful relationship, their social standing, or the control they rely on. These crises can sometimes create a moment of reckoning, where the narcissist must finally confront themselves. But even then, real change is not guaranteed. Many narcissists respond to these moments by shifting blame, rebuilding their false persona, or finding a new source of supply instead of facing reality. The truth remains, even when the opportunity is there, the narcissist must choose change, and no matter how deeply the super empath loves, they cannot create that moment of awakening. It lies entirely outside their control. This truth hits the super empath hard. Trying to change a narcissist doesn't just drain them emotionally, it erodes their self-worth. It makes them question their value, and in moments of defeat they may ask, if I can't help them become better, what good is my empathy? Am I even worthy of love? These are not just reflections of exhaustion, they are symptoms of a deeper wound, where the super empath begins to link their worth to their ability to save someone else. But here's the truth they need to hear. The failure to change the narcissist is not their fault. The narcissist's refusal to change is not proof that the empath lacked love, dedication, or strength. It is proof that change is a personal decision, never something that can be forced from the outside. This constant effort often leaves the super empath feeling empty, like they've lost themselves. Becoming a shadow of who they used to be, consumed with trying to please someone incapable of receiving it, they may begin to question everything, wondering if they're doing something wrong, if they could just try harder, sacrifice more, love deeper. But the truth remains, no amount of effort can change someone who does not want to be changed. Every ounce of energy spent, every piece of self given away, pulls the super empath further from the peace and self-worth they so desperately deserve. The real lesson here isn't just about the limits of the narcissist. It's about the super empath's right to reclaim their own heart, their own power, and their own healing. This painful truth is not the end. It's a call to awakening. It invites the super empath to let go of the false dream that they can fix the narcissist and instead ask the more important question, how can I protect my heart? How can I reclaim my strength, rediscover my true self, and build a life where I am loved for who I am, not for what I give? This path isn't easy, but it is the road to freedom. In the next section, we'll explore the concrete steps a super empath can take to begin again, to heal, and to finally love themselves the way they always deserved. The truth, no matter how painful, can also be a guiding light. When a super empath realizes they cannot change the narcissist, that their love and sacrifice cannot unlock a door that refuses to open, a new question emerges: what now? How can they step out of the exhausting cycle, reclaim their power, and build a life where their heart is protected and cherished? This journey isn't about giving up. It's the beginning of an awakening where the super empath learns to love themselves with the same devotion they once gave to others. It's time for them to put themselves first, not out of selfishness, but because it's the only way to heal and live in alignment with their true worth. In this section, we'll explore specific, practical, and empowering steps a super empath can take to protect their heart, set boundaries, and reconnect with who they truly are. Awareness is the first breeze that clears the fog. The super empath must begin by accepting one simple yet powerful truth: they are not responsible for anyone else's happiness or transformation. Years of being the healer, the caretaker, may have conditioned them to believe that their value lies in making others feel okay. But this is where the transformation begins, by recognizing that their worth is not measured by how well they fix others, but by who they are in their essence, with all their empathy, strength, and inner beauty. This doesn't mean they stop caring or loving. It means they learn to distinguish between healthy giving and self-sacrifice that feeds endless demands. To reinforce this awareness, the super empath can take a simple but profound step. Listen to themselves. They can ask, how do I feel after spending time with this person? Do I feel valued, or do I feel drained, dismissed, or not enough? These questions help them assess the true impact of the relationship, not through the lens of hope or potential, but through their lived emotional experience. Journaling can be a powerful tool here, writing down moments when they felt hurt, overlooked, or disconnected from themselves. Awareness isn't just about seeing the truth, it's about feeling the truth, letting it sink in, and using it to guide new choices. That awareness opens the door to a critical next step: setting boundaries. For the super empath, boundaries may feel foreign, even frightening. They're used to giving without limits, to prioritizing others above themselves. But boundaries are not rejection or walls. They are sacred shields for the heart. Boundaries say, I deserve respect. I have the right to say no to what harms me. Start small. Decline a request that makes you uncomfortable. Take time for yourself instead of always being available. Speak your truth gently but firmly instead of remaining silent. For example, if the narcissist demands constant attention or criticizes harshly, the super empath can learn to respond calmly but assertively. I need time to think about this, or I'm not comfortable with what you just said. These words not only protect them, they signal that they're no longer willing to abandon themselves to preserve a toxic connection. Over time, boundaries can grow stronger, limiting contact, refusing to engage in manipulative conversations, or even ending the relationship entirely if it continues to cause harm. The argument is clear. Boundaries don't make the super empath selfish. They help them reclaim their power and make space for healing and growth. But boundaries are just the beginning. The super empath must also learn to prioritize their own needs, a shift that may feel counterintuitive. They're used to pouring their energy into others, so turning inward can feel like learning a new language. But here's the truth: you can't keep giving from an empty heart. Self-care is how they refill their emotional reservoir so they can live with empathy without losing themselves in the process. Start small. Dedicate 1 hour each day to something that brings joy: reading, walking, painting, or simply sitting in silence. These moments are not luxuries, they're lifelines. They're reminders that the super empath is worthy of their own time, attention, and love. Self-care also includes seeking support. Talking to a trusted friend, joining a support group, or working with a therapist can offer new perspectives and help the super empath process their experiences. These safe spaces allow them to express feelings without fear of judgment, something they may not have had in their relationship with the narcissist. And reconnecting with forgotten passions or dreams, like art, learning a new skill, or pursuing a personal goal, helps rebuild a sense of identity. The message is clear: when a super empath invests in themselves, they don't just heal, they rediscover who they are, independent of anyone's approval. An essential part of this journey is rebuilding self-worth, the belief that they are deserving of love and respect without having to earn it. The narcissist cycle of idealization and devaluation often leaves the super empath feeling not enough, as if they must do more to be worthy. But the truth is, their worth isn't in what they can do for others. It's in who they are. To reinforce this, they can practice daily affirmations, reminding themselves of qualities they're proud of: compassion, resilience, the ability to bring joy. Write these down, say them out loud in front of a mirror. Let these truths sink in. You are enough, even when no one else sees it. Rebuilding self-worth also means accepting that not everyone will value them, and that's okay. The narcissist may never acknowledge the super empath's loyalty or love, but that isn't a reflection of their failure. It's a limitation of the narcissist. By focusing on relationships where they are respected, friends, family, or new connections, the super empath can surround themselves with people who see and celebrate them. These affirming connections remind them that real love doesn't ask them to shrink or sacrifice. Real love lifts you, it doesn't drain you. The journey of protecting the heart isn't a straight path. There will be days of doubt, when the inner voice whispers, "Are you doing the right thing?" There will be moments when they remember the narcissist's empty promises, moments that once gave them hope. But every step they take, every boundary they set, every need they honor, every moment they carve out for themselves, is a step toward freedom. The message is clear. A super empath does not need to wait for someone else to change in order to live a full life. They have the power to choose themselves, to build a future where they are loved and respected, without paying for it with pieces of their soul. Protecting the heart is just the beginning of a greater journey, a journey to redefine love. Not just love for others, but love for oneself. The super empath deserves a life where they don't have to fight to be seen, where their heart is cherished, not consumed. In the next chapter, we'll explore how they can build healthy relationships and live in full alignment with their values as they step into a new era of healing and growth. Protecting the heart is a quiet victory, but it's only the first step on a longer, more meaningful path. When a super empath learns to put themselves first, they're not just escaping the painful cycles of the past. They're opening a door to a life where love is no longer about sacrifice, but about mutual upliftment and appreciation. This journey is not about seeking a perfect destination. It's about learning to live in alignment with their true values, allowing their heart to shine freely without the fear of being drained. In this final section, we'll explore how the super empath can redefine love, not just with others, but more importantly with themselves. This is an invitation to enter a new chapter, one where they are loved for who they truly are, and where they find joy in simply being themselves, not in healing someone else. The path ahead begins with a profound shift in how the super empath views themselves. They must recognize that their value doesn't lie in what they can do for others, but in who they are, with all their sensitivity, compassion, and inner strength. It sounds simple, but for the super empath, someone who has spent much of their life caring for and supporting others, accepting that they are enough just as they are can be a radical turning point. They've grown used to attaching their worth to being a peacemaker, a problem solver, the one who brings calm. But now, they are invited to look within and ask, who am I when I'm not trying to save someone? What truly makes me happy? To answer this question, the super empath can begin by rediscovering parts of themselves they may have left behind. This could mean small pleasures that once brought them joy, writing, listening to music, or tending to a garden. It might be bigger dreams they put on hold, learning a new skill, traveling to a long dreamed-of place, or simply spending time understanding themselves more deeply. These activities don't just help them reconnect with who they are, they serve as reminders that they are worthy of joy, of attention, and of a life that doesn't revolve around someone else's needs. The point is clear. When a super empath invests in themselves, they're not just rebuilding identity, they're creating a foundation for healthy love, both given and received. Self-discovery also means learning to embrace imperfection. Super empaths are often hard on themselves, feeling they must always be strong, always kind, always available. But the truth is, they're human. They have the right to feel hurt, angry, or tired. Accepting these emotions doesn't diminish their value, it makes them more authentic, more whole. They can practice self-forgiveness, reminding themselves that they don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. A simple way to begin is by writing down one thing each day that they are proud of, whether it's standing up for themselves or simply showing patience. These moments of self-acknowledgement help them build a new relationship with themselves, one based on unconditional respect and compassion. As the super empath begins to value themselves, they also begin to set new standards for the relationships in their life. Healthy love is not a battlefield where they must sacrifice to be accepted. It's a space where both people are uplifted, where giving and receiving flow naturally and in balance. Super empaths need to learn how to recognize relationships that nourish them, those that bring safety, attentiveness, and genuine appreciation. This can begin by noticing how they feel around someone. Do they feel like they can be themselves? Do they feel respected? Or are they constantly adjusting to keep someone else happy? These questions help them distinguish between real love and relationships that pull them back into old, harmful patterns. Building healthy relationships also means learning to let go of the ones that no longer serve them. This can be a difficult step, especially for the super empath, who often feels responsible for maintaining every connection. But letting go is not failure, it's the act of making space for people who truly value them. It doesn't always mean cutting ties immediately. It may mean creating distance from those who repeatedly hurt them, who make them feel small or not enough. The point is clear. The super empath doesn't need to hold on to every relationship to prove their goodness. They have the right to choose those who uplift and honor them, and they deserve relationships that bring joy, not pain. A crucial part of redefining love is learning to love oneself first. For a super empath, this may feel like a revolutionary act. After all, they're used to putting others first. But self-love isn't selfish. It's the foundation of healthy love for others. Loving oneself means listening to one's needs, standing up when treated unfairly, and reminding oneself that happiness doesn't have to be earned. They can practice this through small actions, resting when tired, saying no when something feels off, or simply smiling in the mirror and saying, "I am enough." Loving oneself also means accepting that love from others may not always come the way they hope. The narcissist may never acknowledge their devotion, but that doesn't reduce their worth. True love begins from within. From the super empath looking at themselves with the same kindness and compassion they offer others. As they cultivate this inner relationship, they'll attract people who recognize their value, people who don't require them to shrink or suffer to be loved. The message is clear. When the super empath loves themselves, they set a new standard for love, one that refuses pain and manipulation and instead honors sincerity and mutual respect. The journey of redefining love is not an easy path, but it is a meaningful one. There will be days of doubt when old scars whisper that they're not worthy of happiness. But every step they take, every time they choose themselves, stand up for their truth or embrace joy, is a step toward a fuller life. They don't need to wait for someone else to change to find peace. They have the power to create it now by living as their true self and by loving themselves with all the gentleness they once reserved for others. This is the final call to the super empath. Choose yourself. Choose a life where you are seen, loved, and valued for who you are, not for what you can do for others. Walk this journey with courage, knowing that every step forward is a step toward freedom. True love is not a distant dream, it begins in your own heart today. And when you learn to love yourself, you open the door to a world where love is no longer pain, it becomes light, joy, and healing. The journey of redefining love doesn't end the moment you walk out of the darkness of a toxic relationship. It doesn't stop when you set boundaries or learn to love yourself. Instead, it's an ever-expanding path where, each day, you choose to live aligned with your own light, the light of empathy, strength, and inner beauty that no one can take away. As a super empath, with your vast heart and deep sensitivity, you are not only worthy of real love, you are worthy of a life where you are free to be yourself, unburdened by the need to save or please anyone else. This final section is a powerful reminder that you have the ability to shape your own future, and an invitation to carry these lessons into each day with practical tools to help you sustain your freedom and joy. The journey of authenticity begins with anchoring a simple yet powerful truth. You do not need anyone's validation to know your worth. In the past, you may have sought recognition from the narcissist, hoping their love would confirm your value. But now you know that your worth has always been within you. It never depended on someone else seeing or acknowledging it. To make this truth part of your daily life, you can practice a small but meaningful habit. Each morning, take a moment to remind yourself that you are enough. Maybe write down something you love about yourself, your kindness, your patience, or the way you find light even in hard days. These affirmations aren't just words. They are the foundation of a sustainable relationship with yourself, where you become your greatest source of love. Living authentically also means learning to welcome your full range of emotions without judgment. As a super empath, you feel things deeply, and that includes days when you're tired, unsure, or vulnerable. These emotions don't make you weak, they make you human. Instead of trying to hide them, allow yourself to feel them. One practical tool is to create a safe pause every day, 5 minutes to sit quietly with your thoughts, without needing to fix or change anything. Maybe you close your eyes, take a deep breath, and simply say to yourself, "I'm allowed to feel this, and I'm still okay." This pause helps you stay connected to your heart and reminds you that you don't have to be strong all the time to be worthy of love. As you begin to honor yourself, you also begin to shine your light into the world in a healthy way. As a super empath, you have a special gift for uplifting others, but now you can do that without losing yourself. That means choosing to share your empathy with those who appreciate it. Friends, family, co-workers, who don't demand your sacrifice in exchange for affection. You can practice this by becoming more intentional with your energy. Before saying yes to someone's request, ask yourself, will this leave me feeling respected and valued? Does it align with my values? These questions help you maintain balance so that your kindness becomes a gift, not a burden. A vital part of this journey is creating a life where joy is central. Super empaths are often used to prioritizing everyone else's happiness, but now it's time to declare that your joy matters too. This can begin with small actions, making time for a hobby that brings you joy like painting, listening to music, or walking in nature. It can also mean bigger goals, pursuing a dream you once set aside, like learning a new language or starting a creative project. The message is clear. Joy is not something you have to earn. It is your right. And when you embrace it, you send a powerful message that your life is worthy of being fully lived. Finally, living aligned with your light means trusting your ability to shape your future. You don't have to fear falling back into old patterns. Every boundary you've set, every time you chose yourself, every moment you loved yourself, these are the bricks that form a new foundation, one that can't be shaken by those who don't value you. You can reinforce this belief with one final habit at the end of each day. Reflect on something you did to honor yourself. Whether it was saying no to an unreasonable request or spending time on something that made you feel alive. These reflections are more than closure. They are proof of your progress, reminders that you are becoming the person you've always deserved to be. Super Empath, the path ahead is not a destination, it is a promise that you can live a life where you are loved, respected, and free to be fully yourself. You no longer have to wait for someone else to hand you happiness. You have the power to create it right now by choosing your light each day. Walk forward with courage, with the belief that you are enough, and with the unshakable knowing that your future can be brighter than any dream you've ever held. True love isn't somewhere out there. It begins in your own heart, and it will lead you to a world where you have always belonged.